wow, a couple of weeks ago now, at the beginning, at the beginning of the month, 9th or so of September, Warcraft Adventures, Lord of the Clans, which was the cancelled point-and-click adventure game to have been released by Blizzard as part of the Warcraft series, emerged online thanks to a Russian Warcraft enthusiast. And it was up long enough for most people who were interested to get hold of a copy of the game. It's not quite complete, but it is it's fully playable. I haven't finished it yet. I reckon I'm still within the first third of the game, but I haven't even found any game killing bugs. Although there are some missing cutscenes.
So it was pretty darn close to like gold release then when they decided to pull the plug on it. This wasn't like a halfway through kind of situation. No. Like they were like ready to go.
They had contracted it out to Animation Magic and a Russian studio, I think, but that they might have further subcontracted it. The cut scenes are, I think personally, the sort of roughest part of it. The in-game animation and so on was actually surprisingly good. This was from 1998. Apparently, it was canned when Blizzard took a look at it and thought that, I don't know, the future of point-and-click adventures is 3D. At this point, sadly, the future of point-and-click adventures in the late 90s was to fade into obscurity for about a decade, 3D or no.
Well, Grim Fandango being announced around that same time kind of drove things that way. I mean, Curse of Monkey Island, I think it was 97. And at the same time, they announced Grim Fandango, and it's like, hey, we're going to have 3D.
Well, I really believe that the cancellation of titles such as Warcraft Adventures and also another holy grail of canceled titles, Star Trek, The Secret of Vulcan Fury, those were not because the adventure genre was failing, but those were one of the reasons why the adventure genre failed, because publishers didn't have enough faith in these titles that they already even put tons of money in and were ready to release. They didn't have faith in those to let them out the door. So, of course, nobody's else going to take a chance at anything else after that.
That's a really strong point, actually, and that's an angle on the sort of death of adventure games. Sorry, but I just got so fed up with all the articles about the death of the industry, which also didn't help at the time.
Self-fulfilling prophecy, huh?
Yeah, but Gabriel Knight 3 went 3D as well. That was in 99. That's probably my favorite 3D adventure game. I'm sorry, I'm just
what's your least favorite?
Blizzard's sort of famous for like just taking forever to make things. Like that's like their wheelhouse. Like they work on stuff for just years, and there's no telling how much more time they had left on Warcraft Adventures. Like, it would be a couple of weeks for one game company, might be a year to Blizzard because they're freaking slow.
Well, apparently there were problems with the outsourcing. I'm not sure how. I like I said, I barely played the game, let alone gone delving into anything deeper. But there were issues. For example, there's some evidence of this too. The inventory is apparently, instead of actually just calling a standard inventory routine, the inventory routine is fully re-implemented on every screen. There was supposedly some technical issues like that. And while I'm not making this assertion myself, I might see if I can find where I got this assertion from, but I think it was someone who was working at Blizzard at the time. But you can see that on some screens, the inventory moves from the top to the bottom to a different place for no readily apparent reason. It does kind of look like some significant re-implementation is going on there. So essentially, I think it's partly that the product maybe wasn't everything they were hoping for from their plot moving epic. And also, they were perhaps not very happy with the final quality of the code they were seeing, particularly so close to theoretical release date.
They have famously they have very high standards. Like I've never bought I have all the Blizzard games. I never bought one that was like not up to snuff, if you know what I mean. So I guess if they thought it was going to hurt their brand, then they weren't going to do it.
I'm not really sure how well the game represents Thrall as a character as well. Again, only partway through, but there are moments where the balance seems almost a little too humorous compared to everything else that is ever depicted about Thrall and his circumstances in the Warcraft universe. Sorry for cutting across, Stuart.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always quite. I mean, this is really interesting from a preservation point of view. Usually, we tend to lean against against abandonware. I think as an official policy, although our individual positions vary widely. But I think in this case, it's so much an example of something that is historically interesting, in as much as a point-and-click adventure game can never be described as historically relevant or interesting. We're niche. We're proud.
And I think it's worth noting that it took Blizzard all of a week to get it pulled off, which I almost think that they drug their feet on purpose, and I don't have that's wild speculation. I don't have any evidence to back up that claim. Like if someone that worked at Blizzard wanted someone to see the work that they did, this is like a best case scenario for them on getting it released, so that it doesn't represent the company or legitimize it, but people are still able to play it. But, in the case of like Nintendo, when that Metroid 2 remake came out, they had that pulled off the web in 24 hours. So it's obvious that these companies have the means to get this done very quickly, but Blizzard they didn't seem to really jump on it very quickly. They did end up, I guess they sent the guy cease and desist. Someone told me that they saw the post where he said that they sent him a cease and desist. Yes. But
wasn't there also a guy that left Blizzard, like a very senior guy, like right around the time of this leak? Chris
Metzen left, but he's one of the big three.
He retired.
He did. He's the voice of Thrall and many other characters.
So, is there any speculation that maybe this guy leaked it, maybe even with permission? And he's
well done.
I would say there's a 0% chance. I would say there's a 0% chance that Chris Metzen had anything to do with this, because he's a corporate man, like big time. And this wasn't like a senior manager or something. He was the man.
Maybe it was maybe he had permission. Maybe it was like, I'm leaving, guys. It's been 20 years since this game came out. Like, can we just get this thing out the door unofficially?
Yeah, it's an interesting theory. I would like to believe that's the case, but
I honestly think it took them a week just because most of the Blizzard guys now actually had to go to archives. Like, we did that 20 years ago? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, what is this? What's this crazy Warcraft thing? It's like an adventure. What the hell is this? Yeah. No, it's a cool little thing. I haven't played it yet, but World of Warcraft, I've got a solid over a decade in World of Warcraft, and I can tell you that game is pretty damn silly. So I'll be curious to see how if the humor's in line with the way the humor is in World of Warcraft or not.
So far, and like I said, I've not played it hugely far in, because I've had other stuff on. Sorry. Great. I now feel remiss for not having played my way through this game for you guys. I just hope you realize how much of a sense of duty I have to this channel. But there's a lot of very quite standardish adventure game type stuff involving making cunning disguises out of mops and robes and and there are definitely use inexplicable objects on other inexplicable object related puzzles.
It makes you wonder how far along they were in regards to like World of Warcraft and planning stages, and because Thrall is featured throughout World of Warcraft, and it makes you wonder if they had started making plans and decided that this stuff wasn't going to help them and just canned it or something.
Like I said, there is this weird alternation in tone between the frankly very bleak circumstances of thrall, having been kidnapped and raised in, from around the corpses of his parents and raised in slavery to be an orcish warrior in the service of the Alliance, versus the kind of occasionally slapstickish approach that's taken to some of the game's puzzles. I mean, there is literally a make guy trip over on stairs by dunking a mop into a latrine and getting shitty water all over these stairs puzzles, which just seems like is a very classically adventure game cliche type thing. And I don't object to the puzzle; it just doesn't quite mesh with the plot.
Yeah.
Well, what they said at the time was, this is back in '95, whatever, when it was supposed to be released. They said that the puzzles were
98 was when it was supposed to be released because of the extended release time.
But yeah, they started developing in the mid-90s.
This might have been earlier, but at some point they basically said the game was done, but the puzzles and the adventure game part of it was not good enough. So they brought in Steve Moretsky as a design consultant, and I think he worked on it for like 6 weeks or something like that. Something, if I remember correctly, something of that nature.
Blizzard's Mark Kern came onto Twitter and gave some of that background story. Please continue, though.
Yeah, I remember reading it at the time, but I heard recently that this version of the game is before Steve's input. In other words, like they never actually implemented his input. They just sort of said, okay, we don't have time to do this, or we're not doing this anymore, we're done. But he did spend some time there trying to clean up the puzzle, supposedly.
Kern said, no, I did a full redesign with Infocom's Steve Moretsky and Roper, a Blizzard design, not third party. We locked ourselves in a conference room for 1 week and didn't leave until we'd finished the redesign. But with the code base, it would have been a complete redo. Take too long, not be 3D, so better to cancel. It's out of the same sequence. We can put a link into this kind of almost Twitter interview about it. He was kind enough to give in the info box.
Which is a real shame. I mean, it's too bad they didn't get someone like Steve Moretsky's caliber to consult on it when they started the game instead of when they finished the game. That would have been probably a good idea. But
I have this imaginary scenario where they probably were like, they went into this thinking, man, we love Sierra LucasArts style adventure games. Let's make one of those ourselves because those are great. And then they were like, we're seasoned designers. How hard could this be? And then they get like so deep into the process and they realize it's freaking harder than they thought, So they're like,
I can believe that completely, to be honest.
But they weren't doing it in-house at all. They licensed it out. They licensed it out to a studio that did do more adventure games, I gather. It wasn't original.
Is that the Animation Magic or whatever, that Russian studio?
I think so.
Because I thought they just did the art, those guys. Like, those are the same guys that did the art for like those terrible Legend of Zelda CDI games that everyone says is really terrible.
They did get a lot better later on. What I've got here again from the Kern interview. No, we did not do the design. There was a US third-party dev house, a Russian dev house, and Korean animators. And part of the reason I canned this was because the third-party dev could not code. Inventory code copy-paste on 300-plus screens, which is what I was referring to earlier.
Oh, right. Jeez. I bet they don't ever farm stuff out anymore. That's why shit takes so long.
Yeah, that would certainly teach you. Also, farming stuff out to 3 separate contractors is kind of, it's not asking for the best meshed together.
Well, it's pretty much the business standard now, at least for the big games, anyway.
Yeah.
They were pioneering that 20 years ago.
The real shame about this in my mind is that they spent so much money on marketing. So much money. It was such a hyped game. And if they didn't spend any money on marketing, none of us would even know it existed. That would just be canned quietly, and that's the end of it.
Interestingly,
but they spent so much money on marketing.
Maybe it's because I wasn't a huge Warcraft player at the time, but I didn't really register much advertising for it. So it's quite possible that most of the marketing was going on in the USA.
It was all over PC Gamer, Computer Game World, all those mags. It was all over them.
Yeah,
previews, articles.
Slovakia too. well, at least few previews and some of the pages. But like that was 1998, and that's the year of the StarCraft. Maybe they transferred some of the marketing budget to, okay, let's ignore Warcraft and let's put it to StarCraft.
I think 98 was also where I curtailed my magazine subscriptions quite a lot, so that would explain why I missed this hype drive.